Yeah, this screen. Oh, let me do this way. Let me enlarge the, the source code. Then I do another screenshot. Yeah, too small. Can I enlarge here? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So, is there some way I can make the font size larger? Can I make the font size larger? View, could I have, I remember there is some way. View, let me move this down. View thing, editor, no. How can I make the view size larger? Let me see. Oh, sorry. This place. Yeah, not that place. This place. Okay. Oh. No result. No result. Yeah, let me search the web. Larger font size. How to do that? How to change font size mappings? Let me see. Okay.
In today's class, you'll see how to change the font size in mappings. So to change the size, if you can see the size of font is so small, it's not visible even. So to change
Tools.
the font, click on Tools and then click on
Options.
Now in this, if you can see font and color
okay.
tab, now click on this and then you
Oh.
can select the font.
Yeah.
Now from this,
okay.
you can change the font, you can change the
All right.
font style,
Size.
and
All right.
you
All
can
right.
change the size of the font.
Okay. Yeah. Let's.
So I'll take the font size as maybe 34 and then click on OK. Click on OK to apply the font.
Good.
If you can see, the font is...
All right. Yeah, let's do that. Tools, options, fonts, color. All right, here. Yeah, the size. All right, let me choose 36. Too big, right? 24. Let's try 24. Okay. Okay. Is it large enough? Yeah. Let me use this full screen. Is it? Do you think large enough, Andy? Font size? Is it?
That's good.
That's good. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's do. Let me do screenshot on this one. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Better than that, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Screenshot. One screen. Yeah, yeah. Let's do here, yeah, because this is about database connection. Okay. A little smaller screen because then next about the data store, array, how to handle the data part. All right. Yeah. Let's do the first screen. Yeah, I mean data. Yeah, I could something. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, something a little annoying, right? Yeah. Let me try another time. Let me put this at the bottom. Then I do screenshot. Okay. All right. So here. Yeah. Good. Yeah, so a little better. Yeah, so this is our first page. Yeah. I use page number 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Because later, because I will have several pages, 5, 8, several pages. I will put in a folder. Then I zip the folder and upload. Yeah. Then, because we need to look at my annotations. Yeah. All right. Yeah. First, the first 3 lines. Yeah. Let me explain line by line. First 3 lines together. Yeah. Because these 3 lines. That's the we work on the PHP parameters. Yeah. Or we say, HTML, HTTP parameters. Okay. Yeah. So I explain this concept. Yeah. Yeah. HTTP parameters. Yeah. Because when we write programs, this is a server-side program. Yeah. This PHP file, this is server-side program. Okay. So a server-side program. Yeah. So why I emphasize that? Because when we write a typical web application, yeah, we have server side, we have client side. Programs. Yeah. And we need to do communications, a lot of communications between client and server. Yeah. So here, the first thing, we need to look at the communication part. How do we send the data? Yeah. How do we retrieve the data? Yeah. Yeah. Send, receive data, do all those things. Yeah. So the communication part, that's the basic part. Okay. So here we talk about. So yeah, let me write. Yeah. We talk about data communication. Communication topic. Okay. Yeah. This topic. Okay. All right. The way we send data, there are several ways to send the data. Okay. Several different ways to send the data. Yeah. So from this sample project, we can learn, 1, 2, 3. Okay, several ways. And this through HTTP parameter, this is the first way. Okay, yeah, first way to send the data. Yeah, yeah. First way. Sending data. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, what's wrong? Jump it. Yeah. Oh. All right. Yeah. Sending data. Yeah. I need to, move a little bit. Yeah. Sending data. Okay. All right. Sending data. Yeah. Let me call through. Through HTTP parameters. Okay? Yeah. It's a simple way. Yeah. All right. Then, how to do it? Yeah. The question. Yeah. How to do it? How to send data HTTP. Parameters. All right, very simple, okay? Yeah, very simple, yeah. So this first way, all right? Yeah, first way, this first way, okay? All right. First way. Use URLs. Use URLs, okay? Yeah. URL, yeah. URL, we can send data, okay? Yeah. But URL, usually we cannot send too much data, limited data. So when we do not have a lot of data to send, we can use URL to send the data, right? Yeah. So how to use URL? Yeah. URL, yeah. So, because you need to have a page to call, right? But because in your URL, so the URL, so here let me explain the URL a little bit. So with the URL points, one URL points to a resource. Resource here, it's a PHP file. A PHP file, yeah, here, we call the resource. Okay, all right. And in this program, our PHP file, we point index.php. Index.php, okay? So that's our resource. Yeah, yeah. All right. Then, when you call this file, you want to pass data to this file. Yeah. After you call this file, you want to send several parameters to this file. Okay? Yeah. Why several parameters? Why you send several parameters? Here, later I will explain. Yeah. So why we use parameters, right? Yeah, so let me write here. Why we use parameters. Yeah. Because we want to control some features. We use parameters to control certain features. All right? Yeah. I'll explain the detail. How to control? Yeah. I will explain that. Yeah. So there is a simple way to control different features. We use parameters. That's the simple way to control features. Yeah. Here, there are three features we will use to control. Feature 1, F1, feature 2, F2, feature 3. Okay? Here, three parameters, we control three different features. Okay? Yeah. All right. But the question, how to send? All right. Look at the specific way to send. Yeah. Index.php, after this file name, put a question mark. Okay? Use question mark to separate file name and the data part. Okay? Data, after question mark, we need to write the data part. Yeah. All right? Yeah. Then, first parameter. Here we use mn. The first parameter is mn. Yeah. mn, because I use to denote menu number. Okay, menu. Top bar, we have a menu. Okay, yeah. Top bar, we have a menu. Table with table names as the menu. Okay, but the menu. So which table you select? We use number 1, 2, 3. If the number is 1, we select first table. Number is 2, we select second table. Or sorry. If the number is 0, we select first table. 1, yeah, because 0 by default is 0, right? If we do not make any selection, that's the 0. Yeah, because by default, because when you start, you have no chance to select which table, right? So when you have no chance to select anything, we take it default 0. Yeah, so 0 is our first table. Okay, all right. So that is, yeah. Then, when you write the first parameter, mn is the parameter name equals, yeah, here I put a number, value. So here the parameter value we use this way, equal sign, okay? 2, if I write 2, that means table 3, okay? Yeah, yeah, table 1, we use 0, table 2, 1, table 3, we use 2, okay? All right, then after we select the table, the second one, cn refers to column number, column, C, column, okay? Yeah, so which column you want to specify, okay? cn, yeah, column number, yeah, yeah, all right, yeah, yeah. So that's cn. Then the second number cn, we use ampersand to separate the parameter, okay? The first parameter, out of the first parameter, we need to write second one, but we need to use a delimiter to separate the first parameter, okay? Yeah, ampersand. Then cn, let's say equals 1. Yeah, cn equals 1, okay? All right. Yeah. Then the third parameter, dir, direction number. Yeah, when we sort each column, ascending order, descending order, right? Yeah. So dir, if it's 0, ascending order. If it is 1, descending order. Yeah. Things like that. Okay? Yeah. Ascending order, descending order. Yeah. All right. So, for example, dir equals 1, for example. Okay? So, if you request this URL, okay, this URL, yeah, then you pass 3 parameters to this program, okay, you pass it, yeah. 3 parameters to this program, all right, this index.php program. Then, now we are working, the current program is the PHP index.php. Now we need to work on the data, okay, so the first thing, we need to retrieve data. Yeah. Although you send data to this file, but inside this file, we need to read, right? We need to retrieve the data. How to retrieve, right? The first 3, yeah. The first 3 lines, these 3 lines, we retrieve data, okay? Retrieve data. All right, how to retrieve data? Yeah, very simple. Okay, we use each parameter. We use one variable. So this is a PHP variable. Start with $sign, $mn, variable name. Okay, yeah. Every time you see this $sign, it's a variable, PHP variable. Okay, all right. The first variable $mn equals int val. Okay, from the name you can see. Retrieve integer value, int integer value. Convert whatever you get, you convert it to an integer. Yeah. Because remember, every data retrieved from an HTML file. Okay, yeah, because the file in the HTML format. Every data from HTML in the string format. Okay, yeah. So yeah, here let me write this way. All HTML data is in the string format, original form, string format. If you do not do conversion, then what do you get? You get a string. If you get a string, you cannot use it to do arithmetic operations. Okay? Yeah, string value, you cannot do arithmetic operation. +1, -1, you cannot do that. Okay? Yeah. So you will have problem. Yeah. So that's why before we do any arithmetic operations, we need to convert it to integer. Yeah. That's why we use this function, intval, to convert the string data to integer data. Okay? That's the first step, that function. Then, here, look at the function filter underscore input. Yeah. So this PHP function, yeah, does the filtering. Yeah. When you retrieve data at the same time, it does the filtering. Yeah. For security consideration. Yeah. Why is that? Because when you receive the data, sometimes the hacker may embed some harmful code into the data. Yeah? Because when you enter data, people write, when you type, the hacker can embed some harmful data. Okay? Some JavaScript function, try to, steal your sensitive data, things like that. Yeah, yeah. So this function is used to check. So if contains some harmful code. Yeah. All right? Yeah. So we do not need to write our own functions. We just use the PHP built-in function, filter underscore input. So that does the checking for us. Yeah. All right? So then after that, input underscore get. Yeah, look at this get. Yeah. Because HTTP, when we send the data, there are two methods. Two HTTP methods. Yeah. Two HTTP, yeah, methods. Yeah, actually, yeah, more than two, but most commonly used these two. Okay. Other methods, rarely used. Yeah. So here I do not mention. Yeah. Get and post. Get method and a post method. Yeah, yeah. And the get method this way is the default way. Okay. If we do not specify, we use the get method to send data. Yeah. By default, we use the get method. If we want to use the post method, you need to specify it. Yeah. You need to specify it. Okay. All right. Yeah, regarding the difference, yeah, because you may ask me, what's the difference between get method and post method, right? The difference, a lot of differences, yeah. Here, let me delay a little bit, yeah, because I need to spend a lot of time to talk about the difference, all right? Yeah, here, let me, difference. Yeah, let me delay it. Okay? Yeah. 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 All right. So now, yeah, because when we use the link, hyperlink to send data. So here, hyperlink to send data in this way. And we do not have any chance to specify get and post, right? We have no chance to specify get and post. Then that's the default way. Yeah. If it's a default way, so the data is put in the get scope. Okay? Yeah, the data, two different scopes. Okay. Get, so the data. Post, different. Yeah. Different zone, like that. Okay. All right. So that's why when we retrieve data, we need to specify the one that we send the data. Otherwise, if you use post, you cannot get the value. Okay. Yeah, so here the get. Now, because we send in the get method, so we get these three numbers. Okay. Yeah. That's the first three lines. Okay. You can see. Yeah. So many things you need to know before you can understand the first 3 lines, right? Otherwise, you know, if you're not familiar with, web programming, PHP programming, then, you may need to spend a lot of time to get this knowledge. Yeah. All right, let's move to the next step. Yeah. If you have questions, just ask me. Okay. Yeah, anyone, even from the Zoom side, just let me know, so I answer your questions immediately. Yeah. All right, let's move to the next topic, database connection topic. Okay. After we retrieve the parameter, the database connection. Yeah, database connection. So here we use the standard way. Okay. Yeah. So this these a few lines. Database connection. Yeah. So then the code, these lines, every time when you need to connect database, you just copy these lines, okay? Then you just modify, localhost, and username, password. This is MySQL. So MySQL default username, password, okay? When we install MySQL, if we do not do any change, okay, we just accept the default setting, the username root, okay, the highest level user, root user, okay. Yeah. Under the root, you can create more lower level users. Yeah. Then the password, nothing, default. Okay. Yeah. All right. Then our database name. Yeah. Make sure you use the correct database name. Okay. So in my code. If some of the students, due to some reason, change the database name, that could happen. Change the database name, then you have to change here. Okay? Make sure you use the same database name here. All right. Then we need a connection object. Yeah? When you do the queries, you need to pass connection object to your query functions. So this is a connection object. Okay? Contains the data necessary to do the query. Okay, all the information you need to do the query. Yeah. All right. So you need the MySQL I version. Yeah. This version. Yeah. Make sure that this is a relatively newer version. The older version without I. Okay. Or the older version use the MySQL _connect. Know that I. Okay. But the older version, many new PHP does not support older version. Yeah. But sometimes still, some users, some programs still use the older version. But older version, newer PHP version does not support. So you will have a lot of error message. Yeah. So make sure you use this I version. Yeah. Yeah. I version. Yeah. Here we use I version. Okay. All right. So then we pass, the basic database information to this function. Then object created. Then here, this if statement, you need to check if the object creation is successful or not. Okay. Yeah. If something is wrong, then die. So then, you get an error message. Due to some reason. Sometimes database not available, or sometimes, the network not available, due to some reason. Yeah, not successful. Yeah, but in general, so we assume this step is successful. All right. Then let me. After that, we can start doing our normal queries. With this object, we can do our normal queries. Yeah. But at the end, we need to close the connection. Okay? Yeah, because this object takes the memory resource. Takes some memory resource. After we complete the program, at the end of this program, we want to close this connection object. to release the memory resource. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the first screen, the first page. Yeah. Next, we need to work on our data. Yeah. All right. Let me go to the second page. Oh, yeah, let me save this page. Yeah. Then we do the second screenshot. Yep. Yeah. Otherwise, this page will be gone. Okay. All right. Let me save it. Yeah. Let me find a folder to save it. Yeah. Save it in one folder. Page 1. Page 1. All right. Now let's get a page 2. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah, page 2. Let me move to starting from this table part. Okay. All right. And the table part. Yeah, I mean, let me, every time just do not do too much, okay, yeah. So we can use a few more pages, yeah. These lines, all right, our second page. All right, now we need to use PHP array to store our table names. We have 5 tables here. Yeah. I use the array name TBLARR, table array, to store the table names. And these are the exact same table names we use for the query. Yeah. So not just some table names to let you identify the table. No, this must be exact table names, because we need to use them to do the queries. If the table names is wrong, then your query won't work. Yeah. All right. So here we have 5 tables. So I use this array to store these 5 names. The reason here why I use an array to store table names. Yeah, let me explain the reason. Why use an array to store the table names? Yeah. Because, all right, so think about, we have 5 tables. Okay. Now we need to do queries based on these 5 tables, right? Yeah. And a lot of operations for these 5 tables are similar, all right? Yeah. So think about, when you do operations on one of the 5 tables, do you need to write your code for each table? You write one version of the code. For when you change a different table, do you want to write another version for the second different table? Then 5 different tables, you need to write 5 different versions of the similar operations. That's not efficient, right? So the reason I want to use one version of the code to cover all 5 tables. Okay? Yeah. One general version code to cover all 5 tables. I do not change the code. Okay? I do not change the code. I just use same code. Then I can do all the operations on these 5 tables. That's the reason. Okay? Yeah. So, yeah. One version of code covering all 5 tables. That's the reason. Okay? Yeah. That's the reason. Yeah. So I use this array. Yeah. Oh, all right. Second, now I need to store table names. Okay? One by one. When I store, so here the PHP way, you do not. Yeah. If you use the consecutive locations, you do not need to specify the index number. When you starting from 0, then incremental. So index number increment 1, 2, 3. Yeah. This relatively simple way. When you work in a for loop, so if you use this way, you do not need to do that, counter variable, right? Save counter variable, just small convenience. Yeah. Very little convenience. Yeah, this way. All right. Yeah. So the 5 element. Then after that, then we need to select the right table. Yeah. Because when we display a page, we can display one of the 5 tables. But how do you know one of the 5 tables is selected? Okay? Remember, the parameter we use to control the table, mn parameter. Okay? $mn store this variable stores the table number. Okay? So we retrieve the value from this variable, $mn. Yeah. All right? Yeah. $mn. By default, it's 0. 0, that is the first table, student table. Okay? So this one, $mn equals to 0. Okay? By default. Yeah. By default, yeah, the default value. So I go to this index, the parameter we send, index.php question mark mn equals some number. And by default, when we start, we do not have anything. When we start, we load the page, we have nothing. Okay? We have nothing after index.php. If you have nothing, yeah. So $mn equals 0. Okay? All these parameters cn also equal to 0. Yeah. Because nothing means 0. Yeah. $dir also means 0. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. Nothing means empty string. The string is empty, right? Empty string, when you convert to integer, it's 0. Yeah. Empty string is 0. Okay. Yeah. All right. So you have a table name. The currently selected table name is stored in this variable. Okay? Yeah. Table underscore name. Yeah. Then our first query. $SQL, yeah, this is the show query statement. Show columns from the table name. Yeah. So this lists all the column names of this table. Show columns. Yeah. A list of, yeah. Because here we do not want to hard code the table names or column names. Yeah. So we use this way. We do not hard code the table column names for each table. Yeah. So we use this query to help us retrieve all the column names under the current table name. Yeah. All right. So we use the result. Yeah. The query. Yeah. So here. This is the query function. MySQL query. Yeah. You need to pass the connection object. The first parameter, you need to pass the connection object to it. Yeah. The second, the query statement. Yeah. Then, the query result is stored in the result1 object. Another object. Result1 is another object. It contains the table returned by this query. Your result is a table. Okay. If it's a table, you have rows and columns, right? Yeah. Yeah. A table, we interpret a table as 2D array. One 2D array, rows, columns. Yeah. All right. Yeah. But we know column names, we only take 1D, right? Yeah. 1D. Yeah. 1D array. Yeah. Column 1D array. So that's why this record, we only take the first row. So this is 0, okay? So because after the first row, other rows, other information, we don't need. Yeah. This record, yeah, because this while loop, this while loop. So every time we retrieve this function, fetch, this function, retrieve one row from this 2D array. One row from the 2D array. Okay? Yeah. 2D array. But 2D array, we array fields to store that row, but we only take the first element. So this is 0, first element. Yeah. The second, third, the remaining elements, we don't need. We skip. We don't need. Okay? But we only take the first element. That's the column name. Yeah. Then, while loop, you go to the next row, then the next column name. Yeah. Next column name. Okay? Yeah. So after we complete this while loop, actually the structure is like this. Yeah. So here, to help you understand why it is, the structure. So it returns, this result1 returns, 2D array. Okay, yeah, 2D array. So that the column 1, column 2, and so on. Okay, column n. Okay, then there are other informations. Okay, other than the column names. Yeah, because this table needs to store other related informations. Yeah. Each column, so there is information, right? Like data type, constraint, other information. But we are not interested. Okay, other information. Yeah. So this while loop, this dollar record, this variable, every time it retrieves one row from this 2D array. Okay. Yeah. The second iteration, the next row, third, and so on. Okay. All right. Then in each iteration, we only take the first element. Okay. Yeah. So that's 0, the first element. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So then you store all the fields, column names in this array. Ready? So we can do the next level work. Yeah. All right. So let me move to next screen. I try to move a little faster. Yeah. But anyway. All right. I need to move to the next level. All right. That next screen here, option, option. All right. option, yeah, I want to cover this much, okay? So the option, I skip a few lines, yeah, but that's not that important, yeah. So, to this part, yeah, that's more important. So let me cover this part. Oh, I need to save the screen before I move to the next page. Page 2. Okay. Yeah. Then cover this screen. Yeah. So this screen. So we finished the data preparation part. Yeah. So this page 3. Yeah. All right. Page 3. Option array. Here you can see option array because also the table names, right? But this is the table display names, okay? It's not the original table name because for display purpose, we may not use the exact same table names for display, right? Because we just let the user recognize which table you are using. Yeah. So for display purpose, yeah. So this option array. So it's different from our table name. Here, both arrays store the table name information. Yeah. So otherwise you may get confused. Why I use two different arrays to store table name information? Yeah. So this. Okay. Yeah. Also table names. Yeah. But for display purpose. Yeah. And they are slightly different from the original table names. Yeah, because the reason original table names may not be friendly for display because underscore, right? Lowercase underscore, so not friendly for display. Then for display, we want to use more friendly way to show our users information. That's why we use slightly different array. Yeah. So that reason. Then data. Table data. Now we need to work on the table data. So here we use array. Data 2D ARR. Yeah. So from the variable name, you see what do we want to do? We want to store the 2D table data of the current table. We are working on the current table in this array. All right. Then we run the query. Now our query retrieve the data from the table. Select star from table name, current table name. Okay. Order by which field you want to sort. Order by the field. Because you have that field array. Field array, then $CM column selection, right? The CM is the column selection. By default, the column number is 0. By default, you sort your table data based on the first column. All right. So then dir equals 0, ascending order. Order by the default case, ascending order. And If it's non-zero, yeah, usually we use 1. But if you use 2, 3, 4, non-zero. Non-zero, you do the descending order. Yeah, descending order. Yeah, okay, all right. So after this if statement, so you prepare your query statement. Yeah. Then result to variable, you store the query result. Yeah. So the query result you store in this object. Now, this is an object, stores the 2D array. 2D array. Rows, columns. Yeah. So next step, we need to retrieve the data from the 2D array. Row by row. Every time retrieve one row. Okay, all right. Yeah. Yeah. So still while loop, line, yeah. Every time just one row, we use this $line variable to store the whole row data. Okay, yeah. All right. Then $i equals 0, counter, right? Yeah. Because the first time we want to, we want to go through all the elements in one loop. Yeah. So we use another for loop, inner for loop, for each loop. Inner for each loop to go through all the elements. All right? Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. I incremental, yeah. So we store in the 2D array. Okay. Yeah. 2D array. $I. Yeah. Yeah. That dimension. Index. First index $I. Second index, here you can see we use this empty brackets. We do not use another counter variable to control it, right? Because we use the consecutive locations. So convenient, just for convenience. Yeah. Yeah. All right, after this while loop, we store the 2D data, 2D table, current table data in this array. Yeah. Yeah. Ready for display. Okay. Manipulation. Yeah. All right. So let's move the next screen. We do display. Okay. Yeah. Display also the for loop, nested for loop. Yeah. Rows, columns. Yeah. But when we display, then we need to add a lot of things. So display part actually pretty complicated. Yeah. Because you need to put some buttons, right? Yeah. Remember, edit button, delete button, and update button. You need to put a lot of things when you display the data. Okay? That's why it's pretty complicated. Yeah. All right. Yeah. But after I give you more and more information, you can understand better and better. Yeah. All right. 3. Page 3. All right. So let's do another. Yeah. Probably I can do one more screen today. Yeah. Yeah, why I go so slow today? Yeah. Normally I should be able to cover many screens. Yeah. Yeah, anyway. Yeah. Anyway, oh. Yeah. Probably I can do yeah, let me just do our last screen. So then think about what to do next step. Yeah, I should go much faster than this. All right. That next screen, that's the display part. Yeah. And something pretty easy. I don't need to do the screen. Yeah. So this I include the jQuery. Yeah. So here you can see the jQuery and also my JavaScript function. Yeah. So I don't need to cut a screenshot. Then display, then the screenshot. Okay. All right. Yeah. So then the screenshot, oh, yeah, probably I just use the screen to explain. Yeah, because for loop, yeah, I do not need to use screenshot to explain. The for loop, yeah, outer for loop. Yeah, remember 2D array. Oh, yeah, this table we display the header part. Okay, yeah, still not data. This one we display the table names, the option, AIR, option array. Okay, yeah, so one loop. Yeah, this one table. All right, this one table, yeah, we display. Yeah, so look at the table. Inside table, one row, TR. TR, we know one row. One row, we use for loop to go through all the columns. Yeah. All the columns in only one row. Yeah. The menu bar, remember the top menu bar. Okay? Top menu bar. So we just go through that top menu bar. Yeah. When $MN equals $I, yeah, that's you hit the selected table, okay? Yeah, because this means you hit that selected table, then you display the boldface. Yeah, look at this. Yeah, B tag boldface. PHP print, right, the value of the table name. Yeah, so the table name is displayed in the boldface. Yeah. Else, if you do not hit that, so different. The I value different from $MN value. Else, you display hyperlink. Yeah. And remember, this name I need to change to the index. Okay. Yeah. So that's why I got broken links. Yeah. I need to every time when I need to use a link, I need to change to index.php. All right. Then I pass parameter values. Yeah. Because when I click this hyperlink, I need to MN equals, you know the way to pass parameter, yeah, inside URL, MN equals the value of this I value, okay? This way. So you change different values for different tables. Yeah. This is the display name. Yeah, this PHP expression, display names. Okay, yeah. So then you see the top menu bar. Yeah. Using hyperlinks to control which table you select. Yeah, that simple. Okay, yeah. So this one I do not need to do a screenshot. Okay. Then after this top menu bar, we have a table. We display 2D arrays. Yeah. So this part more complicated. See, a nested for loop. Nested for loop. Yeah. So this part. Yeah. I feel I need to do some explanation, yeah, because you see pretty complicated. Okay, all right, yeah, pretty complicated. Yeah, but after that, yeah, so almost complete. At the end, we close the connection. Look at the last line, the bottom line. Yeah, because after we finish using the database connection object, we don't want to occupy that resource. Yeah. Yeah. So as a good programming practice, you should release the occupied resource. Okay. So we call this PHP function MySQLi_close to close the object, to release the resource. Yeah. All right. So that the big table display part, yeah. Let me leave to next time. But the next time, because today is already Wednesday, next time, 5 days later, across the past the weekend, yeah, I may like to do, yeah, although I need to post our last query assignment, yeah. But for this part, in order to let you work on the project as early as possible, Remember, I have 40 minutes left for that tornado class, right? Canceling class, yeah. So here, because this explanation part, I want to do as early as possible. Yeah. Let me use that 40 minutes, borrow that 40 minutes to explain this data display part, okay? Yeah, so at home, I will record a 40-minute video to explain the data display and all the related feature part, okay? Yeah, 40 minutes should be enough, yeah, to complete. Then you can understand the code much better, okay? After that, you can understand much easier, yeah. All right, that's it.